Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there, having yourselves a great Friday night, a great ending to your work week, and a great beginning to your weekend. I got you a pretty big update tonight. We're going to get very detailed with you guys with these two storm systems that are ahead of us. One being over the course of the weekend into Monday morning, and then another will be about midway next week, which I really am thinking, which I have some pretty high confidence that the second system is going to really and truly be the significant one, a very high impact event, I think. And I think certain areas could see a lot of snow for you folks across the Ohio Valley that, has been saying how the last several winters, not just this winter, but the last several winters have been uneventful as far as snowfall and winter weather. You guys could get a big winter storm off this. We don't know who's going to see the most. Is it going to be Chicago? Is it going to be more over towards Ohio? Is it going to be Indiana and Illinois? Who is it going to be? We need to figure that out. Maybe areas of Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. We need to watch out. Maybe even areas of northern Texas. We're going to try to figure this out for you folks. And of course, come back twice a day and we'll continue to feed you guys updated information. That's what we do here, and we'll continue to do it for you guys. But we got a lot to discuss. As you can tell, there's a ton of panels pulled up, and there's a severe weather threat with this too, Wednesday, guys. And I really think that this severe weather threat could be potent. But we're going to figure that out. We're going to talk about that Tuesday into Wednesday. We'll certainly watch the severe weather threat. We'll talk about what we know. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video and certainly try to just figure out what we know, guys. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate people tuning in. It means a lot. It means a lot that I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have an audience to talk about what I love. So I always want to show my appreciation for that. Like the video if you like it. It's helps to get these videos out there. So I really appreciate that also. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Let's take a look at what's going out there on satellite right now. You see this little spin. It doesn't look like much. It's not eye-popping or anything like that, but this is our first system. This is the origins of our first system. It's already snowing in portions of Colorado as I speak right now. This system is really affecting southern areas of Denver, well, south of Denver, as opposed to the one that moved through a few days ago that was really affecting areas around Denver and northeast. This one's south of Denver into southeast Colorado and will eventually work its way. And it'll be an area of very heavy snow that works its way into Kansas and really over the next 12 to 24 hours. Outside of that, what's left over this system is pulling away. We're dealing with some snow showers in Boston tonight. But we'll take a look at watches and warnings, guys. And we got winter storm warnings up for many counties in western Kansas. And then in southeast Colorado, we also have some winter storm warnings up. And in these purple areas, that's winter weather advisories. And if you notice, if you look at your weather apps across the Ohio Valley from Chicago to Indianapolis, central Illinois, central Ohio, maybe even southern areas of Michigan, you'll notice you got some snow in the forecast, but as you can tell, there's no winter weather advisories up. That could change, but that just tells you, for January standards, a couple inches of snow, and some areas don't even really warn an advisory. But I wouldn't be surprised if these winter weather advisories get expanded a little bit further east into the Ohio Valley, as I do think it's going to be a wintry weekend across the Ohio Valley. Just not a lot of snow from this first event, but the second system could be a totally different story, guys. But let's talk about it. And if you want to skip ahead, I don't blame you one bit. There's a lot of people wondering about the second system next week, and I don't blame you one bit. But we need to talk about this first system too, because some of these same areas that are going to see snow off this first system could turn around and see snow again. So tune in for sure. We'll look at the latest long-range HRRR model. We take a look at what's going on right now in Colorado. It's snowing. Especially starting the moisture starting to become a lot more expansive in areas of southeast Colorado. Not a lot of reports out here. It's not like this is a highly populated area out here in southeast Colorado, but this will eventually make its way into this area right here, which is western Kansas, and we'll start to get some moderate to heavy snow in this region. HRRR model is doing pretty well, verifying right now. We'll keep this going. We'll go all the way till about Saturday morning, tomorrow morning around 6 a.m. Central Time. You got an axis of pretty heavy snow right here. This could be some intense snow. It's just not going to be a huge area that's seeing snow. Snowing as far west as maybe areas of the Front Range, maybe back to Colorado Springs here. But eastern areas, really southeastern areas of Colorado seeing snow, western areas of Kansas seeing snow. And watch out, there's going to be an area, a couple counties in Oklahoma, in the panhandle of Oklahoma could see some bursts of heavy snow. And, there might be some thunderstorms down here in Oklahoma tomorrow morning. I would not rule it out at all as this system's really starting to crank up. But heavy snow falling tomorrow morning around 8, 9 a.m. This will continue to make its way across Kansas. If you're tuning into the Kansas City game tomorrow, I'm brain farting who they're playing. So I'm sorry about that. But anyways, I know Kansas City plays around 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, 3:30. You might see some snow flying around for the game. In fact, I would not be surprised one bit. But look at these storms right here. You see this area right here. This is well west of Oklahoma City and Tulsa, but right here in west central Oklahoma, there could be some thunderstorms. And eventually they could make their way into some colder air and turn to maybe some thunder snow. I would not be surprised in western Oklahoma sometime tomorrow at late afternoon, evening, if there's some thunder snow right in here. Some incredible dynamics working here. A lot of heavy rain beginning to blossom across areas of Louisiana, Mississippi. This could be in the form of some storms, but not expecting any severe weather. Maybe a small risk, but not a big risk. But this snow might start off as rain, but it starts to make it into Missouri. It doesn't make it as far north as Omaha or anything like that, but maybe southeast areas of Nebraska could see a little bit of snow, enough to maybe add up to an inch, maybe two. But we'll go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. with this system right here. And my bad, I meant to have it this. So here comes the system moving, and I wanted to show a little bit more of, actually, sorry guys, I want to show a little bit more Missouri here. But this is moving through Missouri. Most of the state of Missouri could be kind of snowy tomorrow. Well, really overnight tomorrow night into Sunday morning. We'll take it all the way to Sunday morning. Still some lingering snow showers in Missouri. Areas of Missouri could see as little as maybe a dusting to a half inch to maybe as much as 2 to 3 inches. It just depends on where you live. But really what's interesting on the HRRR model is right into here, and we'll go on and flip it to the next panel here, is when we'll, about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning out here in Missouri, southeast Missouri, and southern sections and central sections of Illinois, the HRRR model is saying a pretty hefty band of snow. We'll see what the latest HRRR model shows. It's about the drop here within the hour. And this is the one that came out a few hours ago, which there's basically a new long-range HRRR model that drops out every 6 hours. And this is the latest one, so this is the only one I can really show you that goes past 18 hours. But we'll stop it right here. This is around 6 a.m. Sunday morning, and you got snow falling maybe as far north as Chicago. I think Chicago could certainly see a time frame Sunday morning to see some maybe light to at times moderate snow, especially south of the city. But, we'll stop this about 9, 10 a.m. Most of the state of Indiana seeing snow. A lot of the state of Illinois seeing some snow. And, it wants to show some heavier snow down here into northern Kentucky, basically where that rain and snow line is, just north of that rain and snow line where it's heavy, wet snow. You might get a little bit of surprise here in northern Kentucky. We'll have to watch. Cincinnati, watch out. And then getting into Ohio, as we're getting into Sunday afternoon, guys, we could have some heavy snow falling, moderate to heavy snow falling at times. The latest HRRR model really likes the idea of some heavier precipitation, but the next model run could do away with this. But I can tell you the mesoscale short-range models likes the idea of some heavier snow. We'll talk about accumulations here in a second, so bear with me. With what's left over the event, we get into the Northeast. Some snow begins to overspread Pennsylvania. We can only look at the short-range Euro because the HRRR model only goes 48 hours out. But some snow begins to overspread the area. There could be some decent accumulations in Buffalo, Erie. I really think this system could start out as a little bit of snow for Pittsburgh, but I think the rain is going to win out. But just north of the town, just into some higher elevations, I think, Sunday evening, there could be a decent snowfall event across the northern half of Pennsylvania. Binghamton certainly could see a few to maybe as much as several inches of snow. But as you can tell, Washington, D.C., through Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, into Boston, this is all rain. Just north of Boston, you're getting into some mixing into some snow. But there's going to be an axis right here in the interior areas of the Northeast that sees some decent snowfall accumulations from this. We'll take it all the way out to Monday morning, and it's snowing like crazy in New Hampshire, Vermont. Even southeast New Hampshire is going to struggle with changing the rain. So that just tells you that there's such a lack of cold air with this. There's no real high pressure funneling in cold air, guys. And that's pretty wild for January standards. I mean, you pretty much have a coastal low with above average temperatures. That's what it comes down to. But above average temperatures can work in the Northeast for winter weather in January. So even the coastal regions of Maine struggling with mixing into rain. But this moves over, and I think eventually from Boston north, even in southeast Mass, could eventually Monday afternoon change to all snow before ending. Okay, so as far as snowfall with this first system, guys, this is just the first system. I mean, this is going to be a pretty impactful snowstorm overnight into Colorado. Basically, an intense, quick heating snowstorm that only lasts throughout the overnight hours until about midday tomorrow. Kansas, western Kansas, especially if you're in these central western counties right here, you could get, some areas could pick up maybe 6 to 10 inches of snow. You get into central Kansas, more so just 3 to 4 inches. And then you start to get near Kansas City, maybe a half inch, maybe an inch at most. Northern Missouri, really, I think that'll be the area. And it's crazy. The National Weather Service really isn't following the HRRR much. In fact, it has the heavier snowfall just north. So, you compare this with the HRRR model. The HRRR model is probably going to have snow a little bit different. Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, has heavy snow down here in southeast Missouri. So I'm just showing you, and I don't believe all this stuff in Oklahoma. I really don't. I just don't. I'm not buying that. But it has snow in northern Arkansas and southeast Missouri. But if you look at the National Weather Service forecast, guys, it doesn't show that at all. It doesn't show any snowfall accumulation. So that could be the surprise factor. We'll watch for this first system with that kind of surprise factor that, hey, maybe some rain changes the snow and it's heavy enough at times to put some accumulations in southern areas and southeast areas of Missouri and also into southern sections of Illinois. But we'll go on and switch it into the Ohio Valley. And it's saying Chicago could pick up an inch and a half of snow, northern Illinois. An inch and a half, maybe 2 inches of snow. Central areas of Illinois, maybe a half inch to an inch. Like I said, this will be a light event. But what's wild is, remember I was talking about northern Kentucky with the HRRR model? We want to dump some heavy snow down here, but the National Weather Service just saying, hey, maybe a trace to a dusting at most. Ohio, basically from central to northern and northeast Ohio, maybe a couple inches of snow. But if you're in southern areas of Ohio, it doesn't like the idea. But, you look at the blend of all models for this, and well, it pretty much follows the National Weather Service. I thought it was going to show something different. I'll be completely honest with you, but it pretty much follows suit with that. Blend of all models. Let's see if there's a latest one. I don't know if it's going to change really. Blend of all models here. National Weather Service forecast. And this is the snowfall predictions for this first system. Could drop Binghamton maybe 4 to 5 inches of snow. Buffalo a couple inches. Maybe a half inch, maybe to an inch in Pittsburgh, but I think an inch would be pushing it. But, in the higher hills of Pennsylvania, a few inches of snow is possible, but there's no snowfall accumulation even close to the big cities along the I-95 corridor. Southeast New Hampshire pretty much is the only area in New Hampshire that really doesn't get a lot of snow, but Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine will get even more snow. But watch out western Mass with this system. In these hilly areas, even far northwest areas of Connecticut, with those higher terrains, you could certainly see a lot more snow, and some areas could sneak in a half a foot of snow. So, excuse me. But that's the first system, guys. So you can tell it's not for certain areas. It's like at the beginning of the storm, it's pretty impactful. Kind of in the middle, not as impactful due to a lot of warm air. And then it drops more snow towards the end as it pulls away. But talking about the Euro, and let's talk about the second system. This is the beginning of the second system. Here it comes, right? So this is that first system we just talked about. It's pulling away, right? And immediately, as we're getting into Monday morning, we're getting into Tuesday morning, another system begins to drop down. This is even further south. So the one system that started at the beginning of this week was way up here, right? It was a Nebraska, Northeast Colorado storm. The one that's moving in tonight is kind of a southeast Colorado, Kansas storm. The one that's moving in potentially next week could be in Oklahoma, parts of Texas. So it's kind of moves further and further south if you think about it. And honestly, I just thought about that on the fly. It's pretty neat. But Tuesday morning, check it out. Low pressure rapidly developing down here in southern sections of Texas. Cold enough for snow, heavy snow, especially south of Amarillo. And I'm going to take a look at the Euro and the GFS. And remember, I'm going to speak on this as what the model was showing. We don't know what's going to happen quite yet. Each day that we get closer, we'll know more and more. And tomorrow, I'm going to actually point out individual cities in the path of this snowstorm, and we're going to take a look on some ensemble guidance and talk about how much snow each city could potentially see. We'll do that tomorrow night. I'll have that ready for you tomorrow night unless something comes up. But we'll go into Tuesday midday. You got a raging snowstorm Tuesday midday in the whole entire state of Oklahoma just about. And look, Dallas right here, just north of Dallas, heavy wet snow falling. It's still snowing back in the Panhandle and western areas of Texas. We take it all the way to about Tuesday evening of the 24th. Look at this, snowing like crazy in eastern Oklahoma. There's enough snow starting to sneak into southeast areas of Kansas. And then look in the Ozarks of Arkansas. Not quite into Little Rock. It looks like you're mixing, but it could tick either way. I don't expect any substantial ticks south to happen. Could there be a little tick south? Yeah, but if anything, it's going to tick north. That's just my opinion. Could be totally wrong. Low pressure continues to crank up. We're getting into the middle of the night, Tuesday night into Wednesday, so basically around midnight of the 25th. And, it's snowing like crazy in northern and northwest Arkansas, still snowing in northeast Oklahoma pretty hard. Snowing all the way up into Kansas City at this point. There's some heavy snow falling all the way up into Columbia, Missouri. You got a pretty significant snowstorm ongoing. This would be a significant snowstorm for St. Louis, southeast areas of Missouri, even western Kentucky. Watch out. It's very close to western Tennessee. I've had some people ask about that. We're just not sure, but right now it doesn't look like that's going to favor that area. But we continue to move this forward here. We'll take it all the way to Wednesday morning. And we'll go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. Wednesday morning, this is what this could look like. Moderate snow beginning to work its way into Chicago the 25th of Wednesday morning. And look how heavy it's snowing. Heavy, wet snow in southern areas of Illinois. All of eastern and central sections of Missouri as the storm's pulling out. And this storm is moving into Indiana, Ohio, some far northern sections of Kentucky seeing snow. And then look at the cold air damming trying to set up here. There's a little bit of icing. Haven't talked much on that, but I do think there'll be some icing concerns in the higher elevations of the central and southern Appalachian Mountains. We'll certainly watch out for that and see how that trends, because a lot of times that likes to trend more icier as we get closer, but with no real high pressure up top really funneling in a lot of cold air. It's hard to believe it's going to trend much, much icier, but getting into later Wednesday morning, some heavier snow begins to work its way into Chicago. I know Chicago has whiffed a lot for your winter weather fans, but this might be your storm. It might not. We have to watch how this low pressure wiggles. But the thing is even though it starts out as snow in Ohio, it goes to rain because the low pressure wants to cut right over the Ohio Valley. Now, in sections of Indiana and Illinois, most of those areas stay snow. But like I said, this is going to tick back and forth. At the same time, you got snow. It's starting out as snow in New York City and maybe even areas of Long Island. A wintering mess in Pennsylvania. Starts out as snow in Pittsburgh, but then goes to rain. And then look at the snow moving into southern New England as we're getting into Wednesday afternoon. Snow moving in all the interior areas of the Northeast, and this turns into a major snowstorm for areas of southeast Kansas. Turns into a significant snowstorm for Detroit, but at the same time, you go over to Cleveland and it might be raining. So we got a lot to figure out with this, guys. And, at the end of the day, the low pressure still cuts. So the I-95 corridor still gets rain. And I can tell you the latest model guidance with this second system isn't good for the Northeast, even in the interior areas. The interior areas starts off with a solid thumping of snow, even areas like Boston. But eventually, as you're getting into overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning next week, it turns to all rain. But what I am watching behind this system also is some pretty aggressive flow behind it that could have a ton of snow showers all the way down to Tennessee. And a lot of times, this likes to make it all the way into like northern Alabama. And I think we'll have a lot of snow shower activity flying in behind this. And then I'm watching some cold air behind this system. And we don't know what's going to happen behind this system. The GFS, let's talk about what it shows. Here goes the first system pulling away. Here comes the energy dropping down. Same kind of deal. The GFS is just a little bit further north. So it would put more snow in Amarillo than maybe what the Euro showed. just a little bit of a warmer storm in general. Here comes the low pressure right here. Tuesday morning, maybe starting out as rain in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, quickly changing to very heavy snow based off the GFS. It stays a cold rain in Dallas. Still snowing back in Amarillo. Rain changes to snow in northwest areas of Arkansas as we're getting into Tuesday afternoon. Snow begins to move into southern Missouri. Low pressure right here. And we're going to talk about the severe weather threat here in a second, guys. So bear with me for you guys, for you folks wanting to know about the severe weather. But we'll stop it. This is Tuesday evening around, like I said, if I don't say a timestamp, guys, don't worry so much about the Zulu time. But, there's the date right here and the day and the date, and here it is over here also. So just keep in mind, sometimes I just get the rambling and talking so much, and I forget to mention the time and the date. So I try to say afternoon, morning, midday, overnight. I try to use those terms a lot and then throw in the date. But anyways, getting into Tuesday evening of the 24th, it's snowing very heavily in the Ozarks. You got snow knocking on the door of Columbia, Missouri, and St. Louis. This keeps on going. We'll take it all the way out into Wednesday morning. And the low pressure's right here, and it's snowing like crazy in St. Louis, with snow starting to move into Chicago. And we'll take a look at come on, baby. Let's see if we can get this working. Here we go. And we move this into the eastern U.S. And the latest GFS shows heavy snow falling for basically, I would say 75% of Indiana and Illinois and Ohio. This is getting into Wednesday morning of the 25th. A lot of heavy snow into Ohio. Snow moving into Pennsylvania. It's a huge storm, guys. You got precipitation all the way from, eastern Kansas all the way moving into New York State. It's a massive storm with severe weather ongoing down here. You continue to go through, and like I said, the low pressure cuts, but it could start off as very heavy frozen precipitation in Pennsylvania, New York State, southern New England as we're getting into Wednesday evening. And this low pressure kind of cuts across more so Ohio rather than Indiana. So therefore, it brings a little bit more snow into northwest areas of Ohio. But listen, Indiana, Illinois, southern Michigan, central Michigan maybe, and watch out Ohio. I think regardless, Ohio is going to see winter weather. But the concern, if you're a winter weather fan, Ohio is the placement of this low pressure. If you're wondering about Kentucky, you're going to need some pretty substantial movements for this to be an impactful winter weather event for you guys. If you're pulling for winter weather. Western Tennessee, same kind of deal. The low pressure is moving north of y'all. You're going to get rain. You're going to get warm air mixing to the surface. And it's just going to be a cold, miserable rain. And you just got to watch the placement of this low pressure. That means everything. So this moves on out. We're getting into, Thursday morning of the 26th. Interior northeast winter weather, but I-95 corridor, you're seeing rain. So you keep going past this, and here comes that area. Watch out. There might be an aggressive clipper that moves in around this time next week that could, bring in some additional snow for areas that maybe didn't see what they wanted, and this will pull down more cold air. And this is the area I watch for the southeast, and it's a brief window. It's a very brief window for the southeast, guys. And the cold air comes down, and it lasts for maybe as much as, 2 to as much as 3 days. There's going to be an opportunity. You're just waiting for moisture. That's all we got to wait for. This is going to push that southeast ridge down. You got some moisture flirting with the idea down here. Here comes another clipper, but eventually the wedge is going to move through. The southeast ridge is going to move in the last day or so of January and really flex into early February. So we'll talk about the snowfall for the second event. So what you're seeing on your screen is the snowfall for, I was worried there. I thought the video paused and I had been talking for no reason. So, about started sweating bullets there because I would have talked for no reason. But the snowfall for the second event. This is the first event, right? So ignore it's going to add on to this though. So that's what's going to kind of deceive you a little bit. But watch as, this is the European ensemble too. Pretty reliable thing. Watch as the snow blossoms to the south. Here it comes, and then it goes through, and we're going to just take it a week out from today. Okay, look at this signal for snowfall just from both systems. But look at this down here. This is from the second system. You have a 6 to 8 inch snowfall mean in Oklahoma. and the Panhandle of Texas, and the Ozarks of Arkansas, and southern and southeast areas of Missouri. That's an incredible snowfall mean, ensemble mean. Mean meaning it puts about 50 different members together to create a mean. You know, just the average. And most people, I'm assuming most people know how to, put 10 numbers together. They're all different numbers and then create the average of those numbers. But that's kind of what this is, the ensemble. But incredible support for something substantial in the Ohio Valley too. And we'll switch it to the Ohio Valley. And this is just the Euro ensemble. And like I said, it starts off, this is the first system. And then, I knew it was going to do that, switch to the 18Z. Let me get back to the 12Z. Here comes the first system. And then here comes the second system. All right, and we'll take it all the way out to 1 week out. And at this point, there's still a little bit of snow flying around. But listen, nothing in the southeast. We're not expecting snow in the southeast. Maybe a little bit in the mountains, but that's it. But look at this. Look at this snowfall mean for the Ohio Valley. For you guys been wanting snow, this might be your storm. So especially if you're in Indiana and Illinois. I'm watching those two states the most. But, I mean, look, Ohio could get something off this first system, and then you're going to potentially get something bigger off the second. But of course, the interior areas of the Northeast are favored. There's a lot of areas that's going to see over a foot of snow between both systems. But listen, this is a pretty stout signal for an incredible winter storm in these areas. And you look at the GFS ensemble. This is the first storm. Pretty strong support for a substantial snowstorm over the next 24 hours. Dynamic storm too, but look how it collapses south down here. And then we'll take it all the way out to a week out, just like the European ensemble. And like I said, strong signal in the same areas. Not as crazy down here in Oklahoma, but still an incredible signal for snowfall. Accumulating snowfall into almost the entire state of Oklahoma. The only area of Oklahoma I would question is southeast Oklahoma. But the Ozarks into southern sections and south central sections of Missouri, an incredible signal for snowfall in these areas. You look at the eastern U.S., same deal, the Ohio Valley. I mean, this is an incredible stout signal for you guys to see accumulating snow. And this is the GFS ensemble. So you could see widespread, I would say 4 to as much as 8 inches of snow from certain sections of Illinois to Ohio. I'm not telling you to go out there and just tell everybody and their brother it's going to snow 8 inches. I wouldn't do that. And you guys should know that. But all I can tell you is you got 2 shots here. The first one's going to put a little bit of snow on the ground, potentially in areas. But the second one could really be the big one. And then, obviously, like I said, the interior Northeast stout signal. We know we are going to get a lot of snow. So I talked about this last night. I'll talk about this again. I'm probably not going to pull out the cursor for you guys. But what's driving these systems to cut across the middle of the country? Why are, I am going to use the cursor. So why aren't these low pressures doing like this? Like you see a lot with these blockbuster eastern U.S. snowstorms and things like that. Why are they kind of going like this? I'll tell you why. So let's go on and get this off really quick. And let's go back to the cursor here. So we'll get this in motion. And you see this blue area right here? This is our first system. So this is an upper trough or a trough of low pressure. Okay, just think of this as a low pressure. This is our first storm. Here it comes. You see this orange right here? That is ridging. Steering goes around this ridging like this. It kind of flows just like that. Okay, so this system is naturally going to be steered more like that. If that makes any sense whatsoever. I feel like I've already explained it better last night. So as we're moving forward here, we'll keep this back in motion. So it starts to rub up against this ridge, and with no 50-50 low up here, because you have a ridge affecting it, a 50-50 low would be a low pressure somewhere up here near Newfoundland or Nova Scotia. This would help lock in some kind of high pressure right into here. So this cuts, heads over, and actually it doesn't cut much. It's actually a favorable track of low pressure, and it cuts a little bit, especially in the beginning life of the storm when it's kind of moving across these areas right here. But there is no high pressure really right here at all funneling in any cold air into the system hardly. That's why along the coastal regions right into here, you have just plain, I'm testing out some colors while I'm talking, just plain rain around the coastal areas. So there's no real high pressure. What this high pressure would also do, guys, is it would help suppress this storm a little bit further south. So it would bring more people like the I-95 corridor in the game. It would supply more cold air. So the first system's just weird because it actually has a decently favorable low pressure placement off the coast of the Northeast that typically, I would say 75 to 80% of the time would bring a snowstorm for the I-95 corridor, but there's no real supply of cold air. That's the biggest problem with that. The biggest problem with the second system, if you're in the eastern U.S. wanting a snowstorm, is the fact that this western ridge right here, you see how this ridge right here is buckling up like this, like that? It is too far west. So therefore, this piece of energy right here is just diving down into here. What happens when that happens is, let's take all those off, go back to this, I'll try to explain it like I did. This little piece of energy, which is our second storm, dives down too aggressively. And what happens is it causes this southeast ridge to buckle up like this. So I explained it last night, and for you folks who watched last night, I'm going to explain it again. I don't know if you folks have ever been on a waterbed. I know that's kind of old school. It's even kind of old school for me, for a 31-year-old, but I've certainly been on a waterbed and seen how it works. Imagine if someone dropped you right in the middle of a waterbed. As you can tell with water, when the waterbed, it would probably, you would fall in the middle like this. And then the sides of the waterbed would rise, right? So that's kind of like what the jet stream is out here. The atmosphere is fluid. It's a lot more easy to understand than what I guess it's made out to be. So this area blue, which is our second trough of low pressure, our second system, dives down so aggressively, right, that it causes the jet, basically the ridge, to kind of bulge on both sides. So it dives down and then it causes. So it's like you throw this piece of thing right down the middle of a waterbed, which is right here, and it causes both sides of the waterbed to rise. And really, this is the area we're watching here. So it dives down here, causes this ridge to kind of bulk up right here, to bulge up. Therefore, it basically turns into a stronger system faster. It turns in from a positive to a neutral to a negatively tilted kind of system, and it gets stronger. And in a way, a stronger system wants to gain more of a northward. It wants to go more north. It's kind of like with hurricanes. The stronger the hurricane is, the more it tries to turn north. So I hope that makes sense. I felt like I explained it a heck of a lot better last night. But the fact that this basically is digging so far down makes this southeast ridge right here really flex. And let's just try to get rid of this right here. And let's see here. But it just makes this ridge right here flex. So therefore, this digs down here. It becomes a stronger system, and it begins to cut across the eastern U.S. And just the fact that you have a ridge over here is affecting this. It's pushing this. It's making it turn. And there's not a lot of cold air to deal with this system, but there's enough for this time of the year for the Midwest to see snow. So dives down, bulges this southeast ridge. Like I said, the current around this ridge kind of goes like this. This pushes this away, makes it cut. The rest is history. So hope that makes sense for you guys. So I felt like I explained it a heck of a lot better last night, but I hope that makes sense. Just when these systems dive down so much like that, it causes that southeast ridge to flex. I don't know if you guys remember, but I know you folks in Texas and the South Central U.S. remember, but February 2021, the crazy historic Arctic blast that happened. A lot of people in the Southeast didn't see any winter weather. In fact, they were around average or above average. And what happened is that Arctic air dove so far south so aggressively that it pushed and bulked up a southeast ridge of the southeast. Therefore, an Arctic front stalled out like this. And all these areas saw winter weather while the southeast just saw days of rain. And that was kind of a situation with that. But anyways, talking about the severe weather threat down here, there's a 15% risk of severe weather occurring within 25 miles in any given location for Tuesday. I think I said Wednesday at the beginning of the video. This is for Tuesday. Guys, I am a little bit concerned about this one. I'm not calling for an outbreak of severe storms by any means, but there's definitely some aggressive dynamics coming together. And this is all because of the second system. It's the same system that's going to bring snow for these areas of the country right into here. this is going to bring the potential for a substantial severe weather event for areas of the Gulf states. And, I'm going to do this on the fly a little bit, guys, but really the first ingredient you always look for at this range is a moist sector. Dew points in the 60s and 70s. You typically don't see 70s in January, but, you might. But we're getting into Tuesday afternoon, getting into Tuesday evening. You have this very small sector right here of dew points into the 60s. Notice how fast it's moving. So it moves up, blast up into central Louisiana about Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening down into southern Mississippi, and getting into late Tuesday evening into southern Alabama, maybe as far north as Birmingham into the middle of the night, Tuesday night. Watch out the panhandle of Florida. And just look how quick it is. So you got a lot of dry air right ahead, right out in front of it. Moist air quickly moves in. Dry air blast in right behind it. So it's a quick moving sector that could be some dangerous dynamics. These are just dew points. But really, what is kind of concerning for me is if you look at the 850 millibar winds right here, which is basically what we call a low-level jet. And really it's the area of winds in the atmosphere. The area in the atmosphere where we look for winds that could really cause issues as far as kinematics and just a lot of basically a favorable wind pattern for severe weather. So we're getting into Monday morning. Okay, let's go on and just get to the system. Tuesday morning, this system is coming in, and look at this low-level jet, guys, blasting through Louisiana into Mississippi Tuesday evening and afternoon. This is showing up on the GFS as a 70 to 80 knot low-level jet, not a mid-level jet. This is a low-level jet. This is issues screaming out the south. Look at these wind barbs pointing to the south. It says this wind's coming out the south. And listen, you turn around and look at 500 millibars and see what it looks like. And, man, this kind of annoys me how this is sometimes. But, it's intense. You have a low-level jet. Well, this is the first system, actually. Let's get it together, Mitchell. Here we go. And here comes the next system. Look at this. Just a potent mid-level jet also pushing 100 knots up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, moving through. And this is, so basically, if I stop it right here, and this is really when it really is cranking up here to the west. But this is kind of the period of the day where it's the worst. So you got winds kind of moving out the southwest, and then low-level winds moving out the south. It's going to cause a spin in the atmosphere. We call that directional shear. And it's just not good. You don't need a lot of CAPE. I'm not even going to pull up CAPE. There's no point. But you don't need a lot of storm fuel, storm energy, when you have those incredible kinematics in place. So I'm worried about southern areas of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. I'm not even going to lie. I'm kind of concerned about Tuesday. But we'll figure this out. We'll explain a little bit better in a little bit more detail when we know more. But that's all I got, guys. I hope that helped you folks. Very long video. But we'll keep it rolling for you guys. We'll keep you guys updated. But a powerful system is going to fly through next week. That's for sure. So God bless all y'all. Have a great start to your weekend. I'll talk to you in the morning.